Surf City. So Stacy, tell us what you've learned this morning.
Good morning, Bob and Kim. I just talked to Alan Libby, who is the tourism director in Surf City, and he says he's just thankful that the incident that happened yesterday was not as severe as what happened in Oak Island about 11 days ago. But things are definitely starting to get back to normal out here. I'm going to step out of the way. As you can see, we actually have two surfers out there, and from what an eyewitness told our sister station yesterday, that the incident involving the young boy happened at about 25 feet out in about knee deep. So as you can see, these two gentlemen are definitely out a lot farther than that, braving the water. But according to officials, they say they cannot confirm what happened yesterday was a shark bite. But Alan says from what he has heard, definitely fits the mold. But as far as tourism on the island, he says they are open for business. But with the 4th of July just around the corner, many people are on high alert, as this is the 4th possible shark bite in just 11 days. The most recent one happening yesterday afternoon, just around 12:30 on South Shore Drive in Surf City. Surf City police say there appeared to be a bite mark on an 8-year-old boy's foot. We're told that he had superficial wounds on the top of his foot and then a puncture wound around his heel. We're also told that that bite mark appeared to be about 7 inches in diameter. But officials tell us that that boy is expected to be okay. And Libby says while living on the coast, occasional shark bites are not out of the ordinary, but what's going to affect more people are the dangerous rip currents and dehydration.
While we try not to downplay it, we try and put it in the proper perspective. And like I said, rip currents, buddy system, the basics you learn in the 2nd grade when you learn how to swim. Go in the water with somebody. And we do have some essentials about if there are concerns about sharks, when to go in, how to go in, go with somebody and all.
Now, the beaches are going to be operating as normal today. Officials did say they're going to have an extra surveillance out here, just keeping a close eye on our shorelines, but definitely stay with WECT on air and online as we continue to bring you the latest details about this 4th possible shark bite in just the past 11 days. Guys, back to you.
All right, Stacy, thanks. Plus,
good morning, Stacy Pinto live talking to you about the new moped laws. I'll tell you when they're in place and what local law enforcement has to say. I'll have those details coming up in just a few minutes.
next month, that requires you to register your moped.
But if you don't drive one, how does the change affect you? Carolina in the Morning, Stacy Pinto joining us live to explain how it could help in an accident. Stacy.
Good morning, guys. Well, according to the NCDOT, there are about 25,000 mopeds in our state, which might not seem like a whole lot to you and me because there are actually 9 million registered motor vehicles in the state of North Carolina. But law enforcement says just having a way to be able to track down those moped drivers is going to be helpful in several different ways. We talked to Sergeant Pope from the NC Highway Patrol, and he says before this law, if a moped was found stranded, there was no way to figure out who it belonged to. But in more serious cases, if a moped driver was in an accident and the driver was rendered unconscious, there's no way to notify the family of their injuries. Or on the flip side, if the moped driver caused the accident but then fled the scene, Pope says it was going to be awfully hard to track him or her down because there's no identifiers attached to the vehicle, such as an address or a name. Pope tells me having these laws in place will at least give them a place to start.
But would also enable all law enforcement agencies to have a foothold or a place to begin if somebody was suspected of criminal activity, because you would have a known registered owner. And even though if somebody borrowed that, we'll at least have somebody to go to kind of start the process of saying, were you the one on the moped, or did you lend your moped out to somebody else? It just gives us somewhere to start.
Now, you cannot register your moped until July 1st, and the law also goes into place that same day. So Sergeant Pope says there will be a grace period. They're going to have troopers out giving warning tickets before they hand out those citations, but they said they expect to be in full swing by September. Guys, back to you.
Seat-your moped even, perhaps.
They're an easy way to get around and a much cheaper alternative to cars, but soon you'll have to pay just a little bit more to legally drive your moped in North Carolina. Carolina in the Morning, Stacy Pinto joining us live right now. Stacy, what are the changes and when do they start?
Good morning, Bob and Kim. A lot of moped drivers say because we live in these coastal communities, it's just easier to hop on their moped to drive around town, and a lot of them say it's much more cost efficient than driving a car around. But soon, starting next Wednesday, by law, those moped owners are going to have to get their moped registered at the DMV and have a plate for it. But the process is very easy, only costs about $18. But unlike regular motor vehicles, no insurance or inspection is needed, no taxes will have to be paid, and no title will be issued. And by law, you have to be 16 years or older to drive a moped, but since you do not have to have a license, there are some things you need to know to make that registration process go a little bit smoother. We talked to Steve Abbott, the NCDOT Communications Manager, and he says the 3 things you need to bring are a valid North Carolina driver's license or identification card, an affidavit of facts for the registration of the moped, a certification of the plate and or an address. Abbott also says while these vehicles are fun to drive around town, the driver and other motorists need to take them very seriously.
They're fun to ride, but people have to take it very seriously because if you're out on the road, you're sharing roads with other much bigger vehicles, trucks, and so forth, and you have no, like a motorcycle, you have no protection besides the helmet. That's why the helmet is crucial. That's why the law requires you to wear a helmet, because it can be dangerous out there.
Now, we also talked to local law enforcement officials about that. They said you cannot register your moped until July 1st, and that's also when the law goes into place. So they said there will be a grace period where they're going to have troopers out there just handing out warning citations versus actual citations that have a cost to them. But definitely head on over to our website, foxwilmington.com. We're going to have more information there, as well as more impacts these moped having them registered is going to have for our local law enforcement. Guys, back to you.